everybody, Eric again. Like and subscribe. Here we go. Let's read about Ramón Menéndez Pidal. Ramón Menéndez Pidal, Spanish pronunciation. Ramón Menéndez Pidal. The 13th of March, 1869 to the 14th of November, 1968 was a Spanish philologist and historian who worked extensively on the history of the Spanish language and Spanish folklore and folk poetry. One of his main topics was the history and legend of El Cid. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize in 26 separate years, the most nominations of any person. Biography. Menéndez Pidal was born in El Coruna, Galicia, Spain. His father, Joan Menéndez Fernandez, was a lawyer and magistrate from Asturias, and his mother was Ramona Pidal, also an Asturian. His older brother, Joan Menéndez Pidal, whom he outlived by more than 50 years, was also a literary scholar of the folk poetry of Asturias. Another older brother, Luis Menéndez Pidal, was a wireless painter and professor of art history. He studied at the University of Madrid. In 1899, he was appointed chair in Romance Studies in the same university, position that he held until his retirement in 1939. In 1900, he married Maria Gori, who in 1896 became the first Spanish woman to receive a degree in philosophy, and later, in 1909, became the first woman to attain a non-medical doctorate at a Spanish university. They spent their honeymoon retracing the geographic locales of the poem of the Cid, Cantar de Mio. Cid. Menéndez Pidal was elected to the Spanish Royal Academy, Real Academia Española, in 1901, was elected director in 1925. However, he resigned in 1939 under pressure from academics who wanted a director more acceptable to the Franco regime. While neither Menéndez Pidal nor his wife took an anti-Franco position, the authorities were suspicious of Maria Gori's liberal views. In December 1947, he was re-elected director anonymously, and he held the position for the rest of his life. In 1910, he became the head of the philology section at the Centro de Estudios Históricos, Center for Historical Studies, a division of the liberal and Europe-oriented Junta para Ampliación de Estudios, which also had sections devoted to medicine, physics, chemistry, and mathematics. In 1914, the Central founded the Revista de Filología Española, Journal of Spanish Philology, which would become the premier scholarly journal in the fields of linguistics and medieval and Renaissance Spanish literature. During the 1920s, Menéndez Pidal published in rapid succession a series of major studies: Poesía Juglarística y Juglares, 1924, traced the development of Menestrel poetry in medieval Spain. Origines del Hispano, 1926, a landmark in Romance linguistics, retraces the pre-literary phase of the liberal Romance dialects and the triumph of Castilian, a ballad collection designed for the general public. Flor Nueva de Romances, Viljo's, 1928, became a bestseller and includes some versions of ballads that Menéndez Pidal had authorized himself. Finally, La Hispana del Cid, 1929, traced the career of the 11th century warrior lord Rodrigo Diaz de Bivar El Cid in a scholarly biography of some 1,000 pages. After the Spanish Civil War, Menéndez Pidal forcibly became an independent scholar and revised much of his earlier work. However, from this period is his sweeping essay, Los Españoles en la Historia, a study that traces the struggle between liberals and conservatives in the entire course of Spanish history. He also summarized his findings on the ballads of Morosoro, Hispanico, Thuria, e Historia, 1953, and applied his theory of the origins of epic poetry, to French literature in La Chanson de Roland Royal, the Trio Doctrinismo, 1959. Menéndez Pidal worked for many years on a comprehensive history of the Spanish language, which he could not complete in his lifetime. The 2 volumes have been published posthumously as Historia de la Lengua Española, 2005. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Literature a record 154 times, but never won. In 1956 alone, the Nobel Committee received 95 nominations for Menéndez Pidal, including nominations from the Royal Spanish Academy, Real Academia de la Historia, and a number of professors from various universities. He was an elected international member of both the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and the American Philosophical Society. Major works: La Luendra de la Science Enfants de l'Art, 1896. Crónicas Generales de España, 1898. Manual Elemental de Gramática Histórica Española, 1904. Manual Elemental de Gramática Histórica Española, 1904. El Dialecto Leonés, 1906. Cantar de Mio Sed Texto Grammatica Y Probabilidad, 1908 to 1912. Orangines del Español, 1926. La Hispana del Cid, 1929. La Idea Imperial de Carlos V, 1938. Reliquias de las Poesía Épica Española, 1952, not the 8. Romancero Hispánico, 1953. Antonia e la Lengua Vasca, 1962. Collection of earlier works. El Padre Las Casas Su Double Pensilindad, 1963. Bye for now!